Why? That's mommy's. Use this if you want to smell like daddy.
You never had to question if you were a man, so why give your money to a corporation that doesn't know if their products are made for men? Try Jeremy Razor's hair and body products. Jeremy shampoo and conditioner are made with tea tree oil to naturally clean and restore your hair and scalp, argan oil to soften your hair and not your masculinity, and aloe vera to moisturize the hair and scalp. It's all paraben-free, sulfate-free, phthalate-free, and most importantly, 100% woke-free. Not to mention, it smells amazing. Go to jeremyrazors.com and use my special code BURNS15 to save 15% off. That's jeremyrazors.com. Use my special code BURNS15 to save 15% off. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Business Talks. I am your host, Chawanne Burns. In today's episode, we are going to discuss George Santos. George Santos out of New York. Actually, we're going to stay on New York because I got a story about Eric Adams, the mayor. And I want to go over all the lies George Santos have told throughout his career and prior to him getting in or being elected as a representative. Now he is on the chopping block because they're talking about expelling him. I know a couple of weeks ago they tried to bring up expulsion for his seat, but it didn't pass. And I know that in a couple of days, I don't know when they reconvene or whatever from their break, he will be on the chopping block again. Okay, so because they wrote a scathing report about George Santos and all the lies he has told since he's been in office and his recent indictment of, I think he had like 23 charges. So we're going to talk about that. And we're also going to talk about Mayor Eric Adams. He is under the fire as well. Some conspiracy theorists think it's because he gave some pushback about immigration in his city. I think it's just one of those things. You know, some people, and I'm not to say Eric Adams is corrupt, but he's getting a lot of charges against them. So we're going to discuss some of the recent charges against Eric Adams today on our Business Talk episode.
Something like this. Something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad. Something like this. Looks a little bit like I can't miss. Hey, this is what you call a bad. What? This is what you call a bad.
That's right. So yes, today we are going to discuss George Santos. He is a representative of New York. He has, actually, the House Ethics Committee report on Jan Santos and finds substantial evidence of wrongdoing. This report came out on November the 16th, and they're basically citing all the indictments that he's been indicted for. Okay. Let me just show you this article from CBS News. It's nothing new about George Santos. It's not new. I've done a report on him probably about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. He reminds me of the movie with Matt Damon, Talented Mr. Ripley, because this guy, he morphs into whatever is convenient for him. He's Jewish one day. He marched with Rosa Parks. Whatever's convenient for him to do it. He's a war veteran. Like, this guy is really, really, to me, he's like a borderline psychopath, because for someone to lie as much as he has, it's really sad. So if you could see my screen, I am showing you CBS News, and they're talking about his investigation.
They're saying that actions by one of their own back here in this country threatens American security. Last night, in fired-up floor speeches, they tried to break Senator Tommy Tuberville's hold, his block, really, on promoting hundreds of generals and admirals. And
This time just doesn't make any sense to me.
Meantime, emotions were also running high in the House.
The resolution is not adopted,
where a highly anticipated motion to expel Congressman George Santos failed to garner a 2/3 majority in the House Wednesday night.
Do you feel vindicated in any way?
It's not about feeling vindicated. This is a distraction from the real issues that the country's going through.
The measure was brought up by a group of New York Republicans who pointed to a 23-count indictment. It accuses Santos of multiple crimes, from wire fraud to money laundering, including stealing his campaign donors' identities, racking up unauthorized charges on their credit cards, and falsifying campaign finance reports.
Making up events that didn't occur in an effort to bamboozle voters into believing that you are the right person to represent them is wrong.
Santos has pleaded not guilty. His former campaign treasurer recently struck a plea deal with prosecutors.
There is a process in place. I am fighting to clear my name.
31 Democrats joined Republicans to keep Santos in office, but his reprieve may be short-lived. Santos is currently under investigation by the House Ethics Committee, which says it plans to announce its next course of action November 17th. Gail?
And he seems to be taunting the vote, Nicole. I saw on his Instagram a picture of him with a crown that says, "When you come for me, you better not miss." Oh, that doesn't sound... Oh, interesting post. Nicole, thank you. Thank you very much.
Republicans, they to me, they need to stop. If someone was charged with, let me backtrack, because I don't think you're guilty if you were charged for any wrongdoing. I don't. But clearly, this guy, he should be not representing anyone, because we know he's a liar. So was he found guilty? No. But in the same breath, is like, people showed we have substantial evidence where have stolen people's identity. I mean, what more do you want? He's lied, and you actually caught him in the lie. Like, he said he was doing or was one thing and it was totally another. Like, he's making something up of himself, which is totally crazy to me. But you have people supporting him. Not only Republicans, you hear it was 36 other Democrats saying no to the expulsion. So now I want to share with you his this article I found. I thought it was so crazy about George Santos, and it says every single lie that he's ever told, ever, and it dates back to 2010. Before he was even in Congress. And it says, New York Representative George Santos' career in politics is coming to an end 1 year after his serial fabrications were revealed. The Republican said he is changing his mind. So he's not seeking re-election after this whole debacle. He's not going to run again. So, it says, following the brutal report of the House Ethics Committee accusing him of defrauding donors and enriching himself with his campaign, that comes on. Now, let me backtrack. My last video about him, he was charged with check fraud. So he He had a fundraiser for some dogs or something like that. And he had the people write it out to a certain organization, which was his. And he stole all the money. But he wasn't raising under that particular organization. So, and they actually charged him. I think he was convicted for that. And I think he had to do community service or something like that. So, and this is prior to him getting in office, and they still elected him. You know, maybe they didn't do their research, but this guy is a nut job. And I'm saying a nut job. I think he's a psychopath. Let me see who we got online. Hey, Ruben. Welcome. Emperor. Good day. Good day to you. So, like I said, I think he is a psychopath. It says, while the charges were certainly a dramatic twist in Santos saga, they weren't exactly a shock. Since the New York Times first revealed in 2022, Santos wasn't quite who he presented to voters. It's been hard to track down what is true about the congressman's life story. Is he broke or is he rich? Is he Catholic or is he Jewish? Did his family really die in the Holocaust or September 11th? Remember? I don't know if you guys remember this. This dude said his family died in the Holocaust. Then he said, oh yeah, my family died in September 11th. He wanted to get all of the recognition of being someone that's going through trials and tribulations. Anyway, so most often it's best to assume what the Republican from Long Island has said about his life is bogus. But in case you need to double check, here is a guide to everything he has made up about himself. Okay. So he allegedly lied to his donors, then used their money to buy designer clothes. It says federal prosecutors accused Santos of defrauding political supporters while running for Congress last year. And according to the indictment, Santos instructed a Queens-based political consultant to tell political donors that money will be used to help elect him to the House. Two people gave him $25,000 to an LLC operated by Santos, which was not registered as a super PAC. So if you accept certain donation amounts and you saying it's a political thing, you have to register the LLC as a super PAC. I don't know if it's a different filing. I'm pretty sure it's a separate filing, but as far as the LLC, I'm not for sure. Don't know. But he didn't register as a super PAC. To his defense, maybe he didn't know he had to register for a super PAC, but it doesn't matter. He didn't spend it on the campaign anyway. He spent it on some clothes. It says Santos allegedly laundered the money through two personal accounts, then used it for his personal benefit. And in my last story, I had pictures of the check and all that stuff, and where he wrote the check out to himself and cashed it. So it wasn't a very grand laundering scheme. You could see it was deposited into one account and it was shuffled to another account, or he wrote another check out to himself and, spent the money. Anyway, he spent it on credit card payments, car payments, payments on personal debt, and bank transfers to his associates, according to the indictment. This is another thing. Now, I think this is so ghetto, okay, about George Santos. So while he was working, he actually was being paid over six figures. I think his salary at the time reported $120,000 a year, an annual salary. And this guy decided, oh, let me file for unemployment benefits because of the pandemic unemployment. They was just giving out checks left and right. So he took advantage. He took advantage, and it says he fraudulently collected more than $24,000 in unemployment benefits. Federal prosecutor says Santos illegally applied to receive unemployment benefits in June of 2020 after the program was expanded to help more people out of work due to the pandemic. And at the time, he was employed at a Florida-based investment firm. So it sounds like this guy has a money problem. That's why, like I said, he reminds me so much of talented Mr. Ripley. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not killing people. I wouldn't be surprised, you guys, because he reminds me of this character. I mean, just so he fabricates a lot of stuff, just wild, crazy stuff. Because why would you fabricate and say my family died, or my mother or my father, they died during the Holocaust, or my grandparents, they died during the Holocaust? Why would you fabricate that? And Santos is not a Jewish name. You guys put it in chat. Santos sounds like he's Hispanic, Cuban maybe, Latino. It's not a Jewish name, but maybe he's partly Jewish. I'm not for sure. From that point until April of 2021, when Santos was working and receiving a salary near continuous basis, and during his unsuccessful run for Congress, he falsely affirmed each week that he was eligible for unemployment benefits when he was not. Okay. So allegedly, he committed identity theft. This is allegedly. It says in superseding indictment filed on October the 10th, Santos was accused of committing identity fraud and credit card theft. Can you believe that? He actually stole somebody's credit card. Look, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. George Santos. Is anyone surprised about this? I'm not. Let's see this guy's picture. George Santos. Let's see what we got in the chat. Inmate 39. 39 New York. He's pretty tropical of all politicians. He's just horrible about hiding it or legally doing it. Dwayne said, typical politician. He was not smart enough to get away with it. Exactly. What's up, Matt? And we do have a super chat. Thank you. We really appreciate you. Jesus told me to buy you a coffee. Well, thank you, Jesus. I really appreciate that. And I love coffee. I do. It's like one of my favorite drinks besides red wine. I don't drink too much red wine, but that's another one of my favorite drinks. But coffee is the number one drink. Okay, so let's see if we could find George Santos' picture where he looked. I got this crazy picture I found of him on and I put it on this thumbnail that I put up. But yeah, George Santos, he's running around like he wants to be, I don't know, everything that grabs people's attention or pulls at the heartstring. Because one of the stories that is really wild about George Santos is because this dude actually stole from a veteran. He actually stole a dog from a veteran or stole from the veteran, but I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about that today too. Let me just share this screen with you. Trying to figure out how I share two screens. Is it going to let me? No, it's not. Anyway, so let me just read on. It says, so he stole somebody's credit card. Okay. He stole people's identity. Then a prosecutor said he made unauthorized donations using his campaign donors' credit card information and stole family members' identities. He was also accused of conspiring with his campaign accountant to submit fraudulent information about contribution to the FEC. As alleged, Santos is charged with stealing people's identities and making charges on his own donors' credit cards without authorization, lying to the FEC and, by extension, the public about the financial state of the campaign. Santos falsely inflated the campaign's report receipts with non-existent loans and contributions that were either fabricated or stolen. It says Santos said he's also innocent of all 10 additional charges in superseding indictment. Really, Santos? You gonna say you're innocent of all 10 of them? All 10 of them? Now, one thing I have to say, you guys, if the FBI starts knocking at your door and you get indicted on stuff, and one thing I do have to say about this, you say you didn't steal anyone's money. Like, we're talking about stealing money. That's basically the basis of all his charges. Theft. You stole from the government. Theft. And you stole from other people. Theft. And so you're just saying, I'm innocent of all these charges. They're making this shit up. They're making it up. And you actually stole somebody's money. Now, when we talk about Donald Trump, you do have some people like, well, you know, he got a lot of charges, so all of them can't be false. But like the charges that he's like, they're like literally made up. There's no tangible items that they're actually charged him for. But when we talk about George Santos, we're talking about tangible items. Items that he actually filed under unemployment, his name, and said, oh yeah, I am unemployed. And you stole from the federal government. And you did it for, because if you got $24,000, you did it for about 6 months. Probably a little bit more than that, right? Well, it all depends on, I don't know what New York pays out, but I know most states, they give you about $400 or $500 a month. I think Pandemic was giving out $600 a month, you know? So you had to do it a long time, and then you got to file it weekly. So you lied on a weekly basis. Anyway, and then you're saying, hey, these people are making up, they're making it, this is all false. It says the 10 additional counts, including 1 count of conspiracy to commit offenses against the U.S., 2 counts of wire fraud, 2 counts of making materially false statements to the FEC, 2 counts of falsifying records submitted to obstruct the FEC, 2 counts of aggravated identity, and 1 count of access device fraud. You know, some of these charges, of course, they're going to pile it on. But they're really trying to get you from stealing the money. That's really what they're trying to get you for. You stole some money. And on top of that, you stole money from the federal government. They do not like that. He allegedly lied to Congress. And it says all candidates are required to file financial disclosure forms that give a full accounting of their assets, incomes, and liabilities, among other information. And prosecutor says that while Santos certified that his disclosures were true and complete and correct. The statements he filed on May 2020 and September 2022 were riddled with inaccuracies. Why would you even lie about that? I mean, okay, why are you lying about what you have? At that point, you're part of the government, right? I mean, you represent, you're a public servant. So why would you lie about that? It says his campaign filings and House FD statements were replete with so many errors and omissions that they cannot be reasonably relied upon. Those errors go far beyond an embellishment resume and include numerous misrepresentations to the government and the public about his campaign financial activities. Why? He reimbursed himself for loans he did not make. They said he reimbursed himself for loans due to PAC totaling more than $800,000. He said later he reimbursed himself for a large portion of these loans. So not only you embellish what you had coming in, you embellish what you had coming out. Probably because I'm surprised they don't got no tax evasion charges on here. I mean, maybe that's what he's trying to get away from taxes or something, or stealing campaign money. Well, I guess it would be campaign fraud or illegal use of campaign funds or whatever. But the House Ethics Committee found that there was substantial evidence that most of the reported personal loans were not actually made or properly disclosed. It says, for example, during 2020, Mr. Santos purported to loan his campaign $81,000 in several installments, reflected on FEC reports. In actuality, he only ever transferred $3,500. When the campaign ended, however, he repaid himself a large portion of the original fictitious loan anyway and made $27,700 in profit. And also in 2022, Santos reported loaning his campaign more than $700,000. He did eventually make those loans, but congressional investigators said the timing, amounts, and other circumstances or the payments raised serious questions about whether they were unlawful campaign contributions. He lied where he went to high school. Why would you do that? Somebody put in the chat, why would you lie about where you go to high school? Maybe you don't want to know where people, maybe you don't want people to know where you're from. Is that why you would lie? Santos, whose parents immigrated from Brazil, what did I say? He seemed like Latino or something, says he attended the Horace Mann School in the Bronx during his first years of high school, but had to leave the prestigious private academy in his senior year because of my parents fell on hard times, which was something that would later become known as the Depression of 2008. But the spokesperson for the school told CNN in December that there were no evidence he ever attended Horace Mann. Later, he obtained a high school equivalency diploma. This dude got a GED. Ain't nothing wrong with the GED, but he got a GED. And he trying to act like he went to this prestigious high school. And my parents fell on hard times. And then they died. But I thought they died. They died in September, on September 11th, right? In 2000. Didn't that happen in 2001? I don't understand. I really don't understand. He got a GED. Let me see what you're saying in the comments. Nathaniel Turner said Blue Mountain Coffee. If you ever taste Pete's Coffee, I'm a fan of theirs because they have decaf. I don't drink caffeinated that much anymore, so I do a lot of decaf, and they got a really robust taste decaf. It's called Pete's Coffee, but it's kind of expensive. It gets kind of expensive. If you got a Keurig, I think like their 32 Keurig box is like $27, which is still cheaper if you're going to Starbucks. Starbucks was $4 or $5 a cup. Who wants to spend that? But anyway, I like Pete's Coffee, and I haven't tried Blue Mountain. I guess I'll try that next time I go to the grocery store. Anyway, and college. Santos claimed he graduated with degrees in economics and finance from Baruch College in 2010, which suggests he would have made it through a 4-year program in just 2 years if he actually graduated from Horace Mann in 2008. But representative, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, you guys. Representative told New York Times or the Times there were no record of Santos being in class of 2010, nor is there records of Santos being a star on Baruch volleyball team, as he claimed. Why would you claim that you were on a volleyball team and you wasn't? I can't take this guy. He lied that he was on the volleyball team. I know somebody got some memes of George Santos. Why would you lie about that? To me, it's just so weird. That you would lie that you're on the volleyball team. Anyway, so let's move forward. So it says now he claimed this to the GOP chair Joseph Cairo. A biography of Santos on the National Republican Congressional Committee states Santos also spent time at New York University, a claim NYU could not corroborate. Later, he told New York Post he didn't graduate from any institution of higher learning. Well, we know. We could tell because you just be lying. You lie. Woo! You lying so much. Something wrong with you. That's why I say he remind me of a psychopath. He never worked on Wall Street either. His campaign bio states he worked at Goldman Sachs and Citigroup, but representatives for both companies told the Times that they had no record of his employment. The lies weren't that hard to figure out. Santos said he worked in Citi's real estate wing in 2010, though the bank sold off its asset management operations when he was in high school. After Santos was sworn in Congress, the Times obtained a copy of his inflated resume, claiming that he graduated in the top 1% of his class at Baruch, earned an MBA at NYU, and was able to double the revenue on the project he worked on at Goldman Sachs. This is his resume, you guys. He has a 2-page resume. Okay, for starters, you guys, let me just share this with you. For starters, he put on his GPA 3.89, summa cum laude, ranked the top 1% of his class. Bachelor's of Economic and Finance. We could say the GMAT 710 probably is a lie. We could say that. He graduated from NYU in 2013. Now, he got all his skills. He was a vice president. Maybe that's his company, Linkbridge Investors, Goldman Sachs. He was a project manager from 2017 to 2017. Business development manager in Orlando. So, I mean, it's probably all fabricated. He said he was there 2011 at Citigroup from 2011 to 2014 at the asset manager associate. I mean, you could tell this is not a regular resume. I mean, maybe I need to look at more resumes, but it's too good to be true. Anyway, too good to be true. When something is too good to be true, it's really not true. Santos kept up the Goldman Sachs lies for years, according to the court obtained by Politico. He spoke at 2017 trial in Seattle on behalf of a family friend accused of skimming credit card numbers from ATM machines. So what do you do for work? The judge asked. I am an aspiring politician and I work for Goldman Sachs, Santos replied. You work for Goldman Sachs in New York? The judge asked. Yep, Santos said. Why did you have to lie about that? In March, and then you're under oath. You lied under oath. In March, a friend came forward informing the feds that it was Santos who taught him how to skim credit cards. Oh yeah, I learned this from George. Santos taught me how to skim cards information on how to clone cards. The declaration claims he gave me all the materials and taught me how to put the skimming device in the camera and cameras on ATM machines. Santos denied the allegation. That's his friend. So where did his money come from? It says when Santos first ran for Congress in 2020, he filed a disclosure showing a salary of $50,000 working as a vice president at a business development company called Linkbridge Investors, where he says he introduced investors to hedge fund managers, claiming once that he brought in $1 million in revenue in just 6 months on the job. You're lying. And you only made $55,000, and you're talking about working with investment in New York? We know that's a lie. You work for an investment firm in New York, and they only paying you $55,000, and you bring in $1 million clients. Okay. Yeah, right. Even there, however, he was inflating his value. It says Newsday reports that the company founder testified under oath in a 2019 lawsuit that Santos was just a freelancer who sold sponsorships for events and worked on commission. So he wasn't even getting paid. Soon after the failed congressional run, he started working at Florida investment firm called Harbor City Capital, where he was employed there in 2020. Santos said he managed a $1.5 billion fund, bragged of record returns of 12 to 26%, depending on the type of investment. That year, according to CNN, a customer told Santos that the company's promise that they had a full bank guarantee on investment was bogus. Deutsche Bank claims it is a complete fraud and not signed by the bank officer on the document. They wrote Santos reply that they were 100% legitimate. So they're just lying to customers too. But in 2021, the Security Exchange Commissioner accused Harbor City of being a Ponzi scheme that stole $17 million of from investors. I wonder if Santos had something to do with that. The company assets are currently in mediation with the independent receiver appointed to manage them. Santos wasn't accused of wrongdoing by the authorities, and the next month he incorporated his own company called Devoter. I think that's his middle name or something like that. In an interview with Semaphore, he said that he helped rich people buy the expensive toys that he wanted. If a client wanted to sell a plane or a boat, Santos would go look out there with my Rolex and be like, hey, are you looking for a plane? Are you looking for a boat? I just put the feeler out there. Describing how he brokered the sale of a $20 million yacht, described this type of work in detail. Within 6 months, he claims to have landed a couple of $1 million contracts. And the financial disclosure from the 2022 congressional campaign show he claimed to have made $3.5 million and $11 million from the company before he dissolved it last year. Do you guys believe that? Do you actually believe this dude made $3.5 million, between $3.5 and $11 million on a company that he put together legally? Just put it in the chat. Do you think he made this money legally? That is crazy. Is his money legit? No, it's not legit. His money's not legit. What are we saying here? We know he is a fraud. How did you get hooked up with a Ponzi scheme? Your last job was a Ponzi scheme. How do you get hooked up with that? Birds of a feather flock together. He has something to do with it. We're going to find out that, yeah, he told me this Harbor Capital, City Capital people. Oh, yeah, he was the catalyst to our making our 1.5 or $17 million. Because he's saying it's $1.5 billion fund, but they saying they stole $17 million. Even before the indictment, not everyone was buying that the story that Santos earned his money how he said he did. As the Times notes, the voter had no public website or LinkedIn page. And that's one thing how people identify you if you're saying you're in the working realm. Even if you have your business, most people have a LinkedIn profile that's up to date. And when it's not up to date, people be like, oh, they kind of sketchy. That's what I don't know why, but if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, and somebody of his nature, he probably should have a LinkedIn profile, but he doesn't. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, to legitimize yourself is probably a bad thing. And for you to be, I think he's in his 30s, you think you'll be more tech savvy to have a LinkedIn profile. It says, and on his campaign financial disclosure, he did not list any clients. In his bio, Santos once described the voter as his family firm and said it was managing $80 million in assets. At times, Santos would even go by the name of Anthony the Voter. Where did the money come from? I'm trying to figure out, where did he get the $700,000? I think it was stolen. It probably was stolen from this $17 million. Let's be real about it. You know, the $17 million that they said they stole. You know? Let's get to some of your chats. Bonita said maybe he's embarrassed about his upbringing. Maybe so. That's the only reason why I could think, why would you lie so much? Because you're embarrassed about where you came from. That's the only reason, or logical reason. Inmate said, wasn't he in the Navy SEAL too? I think he did say he had some type of military background, but we could see George Santos' body. He doesn't have no military background.
Pushed out unanimously. This is pretty shocking news from George Santos, and it really does explain just how damning this report released by the House Ethics Committee, which is comprised of an equal number of Republicans and Democrats, and was pushed out unanimously by the committee, and it just goes into great detail about the problems and issues that they believe that George Santos was involved in, many of which they believe are not becoming of a member of the United States Congress. And we know that already in the works, there are plans to introduce new resolutions to expel him from office. But the reason that this is surprising, that George Santos has decided that he will not seek re-election, is that he has been so insistent at every stage of this investigation that he wasn't going anywhere. And he was even insistent that he would run for re-election despite all the issues surrounding him. And in a statement that he just put out a few minutes ago, he said, I will continue on in my mission to serve my constituents up until the time I am allowed, which is interesting because that is alluding to the fact that he may be pushed out by his constituents. However, I will not seek re-election for a second term in 2024, as my family deserves better than to be under the gun from the press all of the time.
So, yeah, we already discussed he's not going to seek re-election. But I was getting at, look at how Santos look.
Spell you.
Does it look like he had any, he's not an old man, any type of physical background? Even when you say you're on a volleyball team, I mean, college wasn't that long ago for you. You gained that much weight and you're that out of shape. You know, what's going on here? It looks like you got some breasts under there. You got a wide belly. So I don't think he's ever been in the Navy SEALs. You can't tell me he was ever athletic. I would be very shocked unless he has some type of injury. That's the only reason why this would happen. But most people, if they're kind of athletic, if they don't, especially men, if they keep on continue to be somewhat athletic, they just stay athletic. They wouldn't let themselves go to that, you know. Now women, on the other hand, you know, we got children, we have kids and all that stuff, so that's different. But men, you know, if they're saying that they athletic, especially in volleyball, you got to do a lot of running around and all that stuff. You wouldn't have this gut right here. And Navy SEALs. I ain't never seen no fat Navy SEALs person. And not to say he's fat. fat. He's just a little chubby. He's a little chubby. Anywho, so where did all his money come from? We don't know. The $700,000, we don't know. When asked about the money during the appearance on the Stephen Bannon War Room, Santos dodged the question, instead quipping, "Well, I'll tell you where it didn't come from. It didn't come from China or Ukraine or Burisma." Well, that's a good comeback because that's probably where at the time where they was talking about Joe Biden. On January 24th, Santos admitted in a new filing that $500,000 of that sum was not actually a personal loan, but he did not reveal the source of the money. Santos filed another amended report stating that a $125,000 loan Santos gave his campaign also was not a personal loan. That's why are you even lying? Why even lie like that? You went from 700, 500 to 125. That don't even make no sense. I have never been this confused looking at the FEC. That's what they put on here. This is a spokesperson. I have never been this confused looking at the FEC report. It says there are other concerns about this campaign donation, like a $25,000 Santos received from a group called Redstone Strategies, which never registered with the FEC commission as a political group. Santos also had a habit of spending $199.99 at the restaurant and hotels, just shy of threshold for expenses that campaigns are legally required to track. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. It says, and loads of so-called donations come from people who don't actually exist or claim not to have sent him any money, like Santos' cousins, who was dumbfounded by their alleged $5,800 pledge. Any skepticisms about Santos' finances has been amplified by his alleged fraud. In 2008, when Santos was 19, living in Brazil, records show he was charged for stealing the checkbook of a man his mother was caring for and wrote $700 in fraudulent checks, including for a pair of shoes. Oh my God. I'm just going to keep on reading. Including for a pair of shoes. Is not the only theft allegedly on his record. Two former roommates claimed that he stole a Burberry scarf from one of them and wore it a year later to the Stop the Steal rally. He stole a scarf. He stole a scarf, a Burberry scarf, and then they said 1 year later he wore it to the Stop the Steal rally. I can't take it. Santos' lawyer is the fraud case in Brazil was reportedly convicted in connection to paid execution and was studying law on house arrest when he defended Santos. What in the world? This is wild. Let me read this again. Santos' lawyer in the fraud case in Brazil was reportedly convicted in connection to a paid execution and was studying law on house arrest when he defended Santos. This was in Brazil. This is crazy. This guy is crazy. He also appears to have made up a history as a landlord, claiming in a campaign bio that he and his family ran a real estate portfolio of 13 properties. The Times found no evidence of these buildings, and they were not listed on the required campaign financial disclosures. Santos, who decried New York's eviction moratorium during the pandemic, he has been evicted twice. This is the story I talked about during my last video about George Santos. He lied about founding an animal charity. It says Santos' campaign bio claimed that he ran a foundation called Friends of Pets United, saving $2,500 in cats between 2013 and 2018. But there were no social media accounts for this organization, no IRS records, and no evidence of the charity being registered to the New York or New Jersey, where Santos claimed to have operated. The Times found that the Friends of Pets United held the fundraiser with Rescue Group in New Jersey in 2017, for which he charged $50 an entry. But the group that threw the event said that it never received any funds and that Santos made up several excuses for why he didn't have the money. And according to the Times, Santos would take the checks written to the charity and cash them out under his pseudonym Anthony DeVoder. This is the story. Yeah, this is the story that I talked about the last time, where he had this charity and stole the money from the charity, basically. Now, this other story I already talked about too. He allegedly swindled a disabled vet whose dog was dying. This story is wild, you guys. Santos allegedly stole money from a disabled veteran who came to him of help fund for help fund a life-saving surgery for his dog, according to Patch. In May of 2016, Richard Osthoff, who was living in a tent in central New Jersey, learned that his pit mix would need a $3,000 surgery. You're homeless. You're homeless and you got a dog. Okay. So you and your dog live in your tent. And a veterinarian technician told him that the man named Anthony DeVoder could help him raise the funds. So Anthony, being a shark that he is, oh, this is a perfect time so I could raise the funds and never give it to you. At the Friends of Pets United, together with a GoFundMe, they got the money for the surgery. Santos then refused to give the money to Osthoff, whose dog died less than a year later. Santos has denied the story through the FBI is reportedly investigating the matter. I was worried that what happened to me was too long ago to be prosecuted. That is sad. And this was a vet. He's a disabled veteran. And he had a dog. And Santos, Anthony DeVoder, raised this money using Friends of Pet United under their name, the charity that he didn't own. Let me get to some of your quotes or your tweets or your comments. Anyway. He may have ripped off an Amish dog breeder with a bad check. This man ripped off an Amish dog breeder with a bad check. Okay, I remember this one too. This another one I talked about. This one in 2017, Santos named wrote 9 canceled checks to 8 different accounts owned by dog breeders. The memo sections puppy and puppies. That November, he was charged in Pennsylvania with theft by deception for alleged crime. Santos claimed that his checkbook was stolen, and the charge was expunged in 2021 after an old friend helped him out. Whether or not Santos wrote those bad checks, the report also reveals another angle of the congressman's scams. With his charity, Friends of Animals United, Santos would hold adoption events for dogs, pawning off the animals for fee to people who thought they were adopting an animal in need, not a puppy straight from the breeder. So he had this charity event, and he's saying, "Oh, these are dogs in need," but that's where he ripped off. He had to supply the puppies, and he got them from this dog breeder, which is kind of wild. Why wouldn't you just go to the animal shelter saying, "Hey, let's get together so I could, we could raise some money. You have the dogs. I know how to raise money. So let's get together and we could raise some money for a good cause. And I get a cut of it for being a fundraiser person." I don't know. I think that's would have been logical, but he didn't do that. He stole the dogs. So and it's saying he was married. It says when Santos flipped New York's 3rd congressional district in November, he became the first openly gay non-incumbent Republican elected to Congress. His campaign bio discussed his husband, with whom he lives in Long Island, along with 4 dogs. 4 dogs that he probably stole from the Amish dog breeder. His campaign bio discussed his husband, with whom he lives in Long Island with his 4 dogs, but Santos never appeared on the campaign trail with his partner, and the Daily Beast could not find a marriage record in New York. When he arrived at the house in January, he was not wearing a wedding ring. In 2019, however, Santos did divorce a woman in Queens. Okay. "I'm very much gay," he told the New York Post in December. "I'm okay with my sexuality. People change. I'm one of those people who change." Okay. Daily Beast soon uncovered more on that first marriage, which lasted from 2012 to 2019. Oh, that was a long time. According to their marriage license divorce records in 2014, 5 years before his divorce from the woman, Santos sent Facebook invites to friends celebrating an engagement dinner with his boyfriend at the time. Santos' former boyfriend said the party never happened because he did not say yes to the proposal. Okay. It's unclear if his mother's death was related to 9/11. It says in 2021, Santos wrote on Twitter that the September 11 attacks claimed my mother's life. On December the 23rd, 2021, he said it was the 5th anniversary of his mother passing, a loss confirmed by her obituary. On his campaign website, Santos claimed his mother, Fatima DeVolder, was in her office in the South Tower of September 11th, and that she passed away a few years later when she lost her battle to cancer. Aside from the fact people rarely refer to 15 years as a few years, there is no records of Santos' mother suffering from a well-documented health problem caused by toxic debris following the attacks. There is no evidence that she was at the World Trade Towers on 9/11. And though Santos has claimed that she was a finance executive, public appointment records obtained by NBC News, this her only known employer as an imports business in Queens that folded in 1994. The Times reported that she once worked as a nurse in Brazil. It says weeks after Santos' lies were made public, two genealogists found documents showing that his mother was in Brazil September of 2001. In 2003, Fatima DeVolder applied for a visa to enter the United States. In the document, she wrote that she had not been in the country since 1999. And his grandmother was definitely not in the Holocaust. He said in 2022, Santos said in an interview, his grandparents survived the Holocaust. And his campaign bio claimed that they fled persecution during World War II. And he claimed that he had Ukrainian heritage. Okay, stop the madness. You want to be Jewish, you want to be Ukraine, you want to die, you want to have ties to 9/11. Like, really, stop it with the madness, dude. I mean, he's everywhere. It says Ukrainian heritage and no indications of name change along the way, genealogists told CNN. Multiple family records showed that Santos' maternal grandparents were born in Brazil. The name is common among Catholic families in Brazil. What about paternal? Santos lies about his family's connections to the Holocaust and did not stop him from delivering remarks on the House floor on January 27 to commemorate Holocaust remembrance. Okay, stop it. In the interview following his election, Santos said he lost 4 employees at the Pulse nightclub shooting in 2016. But the Times found that he lied about yet another historic tragedy. None of the 49 victims at the Orlando club worked at any of the companies he has named in his biography. This guy is too much. He claimed that his niece was kidnapped. He claimed that his niece was kidnapped. In October of 2023, Santos said that his 5-year-old niece once disappeared from a playground in Queens and was discovered on a surveillance camera 40 minutes later with 2 Chinese men. Santos believed that his criticism of Chinese government have set his family up as a target. Look, I don't want to go into like conspiracy theory, he told Times, but if the shoe fits right, you just want so much attention. You want so much attention. It's so sad. He's a pathological liar. Santos is a modern day Forrest Gump. I think I smell a bullshitter. I mean, this dude, he just making shit. He making stuff up, just pulling stuff. Oh, might sound like a good story. Look, I don't want to go. Okay, so I already said. Naturally, the Times vetted the story, of course. We found nothing to all that suggests it was true. This is what's from the New York Police Department. I leaned into it. He made it up. Okay? So he made it all up. Jewish or Jewish. Putting aside Santos' Holocaust fabrications, the representative also said a few times over the years he's a conservative Roman Catholic. On Facebook, his mother posted Catholic prayers and discussed the Virgin Mary, and the priest in Long Island City said that he knows the Santos families well and they occasionally attended Catholic Mass. He said, I never came to be Jewish. I'm a Catholic because I learned my material family had Jewish background. I said that I was Jewish. Really. Facebook posts. Patch unearthed a Facebook post from Santos in 2011, and he wrote, Hi, Hitler. A former roommate said Santos would frequently make anti-Semitic jokes. He's always said that it was okay for him to make those jokes because he was Jewish. Okay. Blake Zeff, who spent months with Santos for a potential documentary, shared audio with the congressman doing a Jewish impression. And it says Zeff said that while speaking with the constituents, Santos adopted a fake Yiddish accent and said, you sit in the room with a lot of Jews, you're effed. And I guess this is it.
You sit in a room with a lot of Jews, you're it's funny when the isms start coming out, right? Oh, he's such a mensch, he's such a mensch. And then they go on to the next thing. It's like, oh, that's a punz. It's really bad. But anyway, you sit in a room with a.
Okay, so he's an interesting character. That's what we can say. This is an interesting character. He was a drag queen in Brazil. Santos' bizarre scandal unfurled. More figures from Santos' past came forward, revealing details about his life, like Brazilian drag queen Eula Rochard, who claimed she was friends with Santos in 2005 when he was also performing as a drag queen in Rio de Janeiro area. According to Reuters, another friend said Santos aspired to be Miss Gay Rio de Janeiro and that he was regularly participating in drag pageants. This is a bad picture. I guess this is maybe. Is this in a I guess a newspaper? And this was from 2008. I'm assuming this is George Santos in a red dress. Maybe not. I'm not for sure. Okay. And it says, of course, he's the first openly gay Republican to win the House seat as a non-incumbent. Initially denied the story on Twitter, saying that the story was categorically false. Later, as people identified the story was one of the few relatable thing Santos has ever done. He stopped contesting it, saying, "I had fun at the festival. Sue me for having fun." They're saying that Santos was a supporter of a leftist politician in Brazil that was just elected president, Luiz Lula da Silva. I mean, I guess who cares? George Santos on Hannah Montana. Santos resume inflation keeps getting more absurd. A Wikipedia bio for the name Anthony DeVolder claims that following a successful drag career, he landed roles on Disney channels such as Hannah Montana, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. After his stint in TV, Santos' bio then states that he hit the big screen with a role in a movie called The Invasion starring Uma Thurman, even though the Thurman never appeared in the movie under that name. So he's going on Wikipedia making his own bio up. You can't make this stuff up. They say he said he was a Broadway producer. During 2022 congressional bid, Santos claimed to some donors that he helped produce Spider-Man, Turn Off the Dark. Why would you even say that? Revisiting the plot of first two movies starring Tobey Maguire. The real producers of the play denied the representative involvement. And it's just so strange and odd that you would do that. And was he really a journalist in Brazil? Well, no, because he was a child then. So why are we even going down that route? In an interview with Curb, a former roommate said when he lived with the now congressman back in 2013, Santos was at home all day on his computer just browsing the web, probably chatting with people. At the time, he said he was a reporter for Brazil media giant Globo. Another former roommate said the Colombian Journalism Review that Santos even claimed that he was an executive there. And they said his campaign has reportedly caused a lot of trouble. He also said he's a target of assassinations. I mean, this article, this is not even done. This is not even nowhere near done. A lot of Republicans don't want him around. They just, which I don't blame them. Santos was arraigned on May 10th and pleaded not guilty to all 13 charges. He was released on a $500,000 bond while leaving the courthouse. Santos said he had no intentions of resigning. This is the beginning of the ability for me to address and defend myself, and calling this prosecution a witch hunt. Okay, no, you're not a Donald Trump. Stop it. Stop. You're not a Donald Trump. You're not a Donald Trump, Santos, so cut it out. Stop it with the madness. Didn't he climb Mount Everest? I think he did. There's nothing you've ever done that he hasn't done better, right? Stop hating on him, Chawanne. Okay, I'm just gonna stop it because he's like everywhere. This guy, he's done it all. He has done it all. If he believes he's a great American, I think we are supposed to support his delusion or we will be canceled. Yeah. That's part of the cancel culture. Let me see if I got. Yeah, nothing more on Santos. He's just, to me, he's too much. Too much. But we know he's not gonna he's not gonna run for office. He said he's out of it, which is good. He should just go home, continue to lie. He might go to jail. He might be in jail. So we don't know. I don't know. Is all the charges worth jail time that they're charging him with? I'm not for sure, but it's 13 charges. Don't know if he's gonna get jail time for any of those charges. Let's talk about Eric Adams. Now, before we get to Eric Adams, you guys, Hamas has released hostages. And Joe Biden talked about it. But Joe Biden's getting a lot of slack, you guys, because Joe Biden's getting a lot of slack because all the hostages that were released today, none of them are American. None of them. None of them are American. You got some Thai nationalists and some people from Israel, I think, like 8 people, and the rest is from Thai individuals. Why Thai? But they're probably trying to keep Americans because they hold more weight, they're worth more value. I'm not for sure. And people are pissed off at Joe Biden because you're saying that you negotiated these hostage release and none of them were Americans. So did you really negotiate a hostage release? Or you did the same thing like you did with Ukraine? You negotiated with not Ukraine, but Iran. You, number one, you release $6 billion of their money. And you put stipulations on it, like they're going to actually spend that money on humanitarian efforts. I really doubt that. And you're talking about your enemy. And then you also, not only you gave them some money, then you also gave them some prisoners. So your negotiation tactics are really lacking, sir. Now here's the president. This is your president of the United States of America.
Our homes and the many blessings that come from living in the greatest nation on earth. Today, we can also be thankful of families being recruited and reunited with loved ones who have been held hostage for nearly 50 days. Beginning this morning, under a deal reached by extensive U.S. diplomacy, including numerous calls I've made from the Oval Office to leaders across the region, fighting in Gaza will halt for 4 days. This deal also is structured to allow a pause to continue for more than 50 hostages to be released. That's our goal. This morning, I've been engaged with my team as we began the first difficult days of implementing this deal. It's only a start, but so far it's gone well. Earlier this morning, 13 Israeli hostages were released, including an elderly woman, a grandmother, and mothers with their young children, some under the age of 6 years old. Separately, several Thai nationals and Filipino nationals were also kidnapped by Hamas on the 7th. They were released as well. All of these hostages have been through a terrible ordeal, and this is the beginning of a long journey of healing for them. The teddy bears waiting to greet those children at the hospital are a stark reminder of the trauma these children have been through.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't be grateful about hostages being released, but like, really, you didn't get no Americans released? None? None. Children, of course, release the children. But why aren't any Americans? This is really ridiculous to me.
And at such a very young age. Jill and I, Jill's with me here, keeping them all in our prayers today. Today has been a product of a lot of hard work and weeks of personal engagement. From the moment Hamas kidnapped these people, I, along with my team, have worked around the clock to secure their release. We saw the first results of this effort with the release of 2 American hostages in late October, followed by the release of 2 Israeli hostages. I've consistently pressed for a pause in the fighting for 2 reasons: to accelerate and expand humanitarian assistance going into Gaza, and 2, to facilitate the release of hostages. And over the past several weeks, I've spoken repeatedly with the Emir of Qatar, the President Sisi of Egypt, and Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel to help secure this deal, to nail it down. And I want to thank all 3 leaders for their personal partnership to get this done. I spoke with the Emir and President al-Sisi and the Prime Minister Netanyahu again on Wednesday to confirm the elements of the engagement. As I said, today's release are the start of a process. We expect more hostages to be released tomorrow, and more the day after, and more the day after that. Over the next few days, we expect that dozens of hostages will be returned to their families. We also remember all those who are still being held and renew our commitment to work for their release as well. 2 American women and 1 4-year-old child, Abigail, who remains among those missing. We also will not stop until we get these hostages brought home and an answer to their whereabouts. I remain in personal contact with the leaders of Qatar, Egypt, and Israel to make sure this stays on track and every aspect of the deal is implemented. You know, this extended pause in the fighting brings a critical opportunity to deliver much-needed food, medicine, water, and fuel to the civilians in Gaza, and we are not wasting 1 single minute. Since my trip to Israel last month, I've been focused on accelerating the delivery of humanitarian assistance to Gaza in coordination with the United Nations and the Red Cross. I just spoke with my special envoy for the Middle East humanitarian issues, David Satterfield, for an update. And I've asked him to monitor our progress hour by hour and keep me personally informed. From the beginning, we put in place mechanisms to prevent Hamas from diverting these supplies. And we're continuing that effort to make sure aid gets to the people who need it. More than 200 trucks arrived at the crossing point in Egypt into Gaza today. These trucks carry food and medicine, as well as fuel and cooking gas. The fuel will be used not only to power the trucks delivering this life-saving supplies, but for desalinization, for water wells, for hospitals, and for bakeries. And hundreds more trucks are getting in position as well.
Okay, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so they're trying to bring you humanitarian efforts. So hopefully, before they start fighting again, they'll release some Americans. I really hope that will happen. But this is what we have to work with. Joe Biden. This is our president. So let's get to, this is my last story, you guys. Mayor Eric Adams. He's been on a chopping block for several reasons. He's been getting probed by the FBI. Okay. Then, just a day ago, someone came forward saying that Eric Adams sexually assaulted him. So, and this is from 19, it says New York Mayor Eric Adams respond to a 1993 sexual assault allegations. New York City Mayor Eric Adams has been accused of 1993 assault, according to the court document filed on Wednesday. Adams called the allegation absolutely untrue. That he's saying it's absolutely untrue. I found in the report that this lady works for the transit system, or used to.
Assault. The alleged assault happened back in 1993, and that's according to court documents filed yesterday. So let's get right into it with CNN's Jean Cazares. Jean, what are you learning? This is breaking right now.
Well, this is under the Adult Survivors Act, which is expiring at the end of this week. And this allows alleged victims to come forward no matter when they believe the sexual assault happened. It's all about sexual assault, sexual battery. And so this is a summons at this point that was filed, and it's from 30 years ago. According to the alleged victim, it was 1993. They both were city employees, it is alleged, and in this summons it says that she is accusing the now mayor of sexual assault, sexual battery, employment discrimination, retaliation, hostile work environment, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Now, suing him, the mayor, of course, along with the city of New York, the police department, so many other defendants citywide, and asking for a minimum of $5 million. Now, we do have a response. Minutes ago, the mayor of New York City gave a response to this legal filing that just happened. Listen to this.
You know, it's absolutely not true. You know, I would never do anything to harm anyone. And just really say, you know, my career speaks for itself, and just really just something absolutely that has never happened. And I only recall ever meeting a person who made this allegation. But you know, I have a city to run, and I'm focused, and I have to make sure that we continue to do so. But absolutely, this has never happened.
Thank you. So at this point, the summons has been filed. Now it will be on to the complaint. There is a time period where they can file that complaint. And then, of course, the city of New York and the mayor himself can file legal answers to all of that.
Honey.
Honey.
NyQuil Severe Honey. Powerful cold and flu relief with a dreamy honey taste. NyQuil Honey. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing.
I have a question for you guys. Do you think it's fair that a person could come 30 years later and say, hey, this person violated me or mistreated me, abused me 30 years later, and file a suit? Not even criminals charges. They file a lawsuit against you because now that you have money, now I could get money out of you. Do you think that is fair for a person be able to do that? I do believe that you should seek justice. And this is, I just don't agree like with the 30 years later. What then you're trying to sue the city. You're trying to sue the city for workplace endangerment or workplace stuff. And usually you have to go through the EEOC for that kind of stuff or whatever, or even just the proper channels through the HR with that department. And then they have stipulations of how long you could come back and file these claims. So, but since New York has this new law that they put in place that anybody could come and say, "Hey, you're liable to some damage that you may have caused 30 years ago." You can't even prove, unless you have like an actual tape, you can't even prove it. So why wait so long? I just don't understand that. Why would a person wait this long, 30 years later, to claim that another person assaulted them? And I'm not saying he did it or didn't, but why would you wait that long? I mean, to me, that's just really weird for them to do that. And I think they need to change that law. I mean, when is the statute? I think the statute of limitation should be the same statute if you want to pursue somebody criminally. I think they should have the same statute. So a lot of people with this conspiracy theory, they're saying that, hey, Eric Adams is being prosecuted or persecuted because he is not agreeing with the immigration. He's on down the federal government's throat about immigration, and he's asking Joe Biden. He's asking Joe Biden for some money.
Setting higher standards starts with
It says New York Mayor Eric Adams on Monday night blamed the federal government for his need to cut billions of dollars in city programs, including from police, fire, and sanitation, because of the surge of costs to pay for new immigrants.
DC has abandoned us, and they need to be paying their cost to this national problem. So I'm with you. We need to mobilize together to tell our national government New York City is the financial capital of this country and state. Everyone should be surrounding New York City to say New York City should not be going through this. And I tell people all the time when they stop me on the subway system, don't yell at me, yell at DC. Yell at DC. We deserve better as a city.
Well,
the world never stops growing, evolving.
They gonna yell at you because you're the mayor. I'm sorry. And so a lot of people are saying this allegedly attack on him, smear campaign, is because he's going against the grain. We know that New York has more than 125,000 immigrants since last year. They've been overwhelmed with immigrants or illegal immigrants. Let's call it what it is. It's illegal immigrants, including about half still in its care. The problem has meant funding tents and paying for the hotel stays across the 5 boroughs, crippling the city finances. As a result, the last week announced a slew of cuts to services, just such as getting rid of some of public garbage cans, lessen aid to libraries, eliminating new classes for police officers. Mayor Eric Adams, this is the wrong way, buddy. This is the quickest way for you to get out of office or not reelected. because you seem like you can't solve this problem. And then you got other problems. You got FBI problems as well. It goes on to say the battle with Washington has put Adams on the outs with the White House and President Joe Biden, with whom he hasn't spoken to in nearly a year. But Adams has been unapologetic, saying that the president needs to do more to help the nation's largest city. He's calling for a citywide hiring freeze due to the spending on the crisis. Spending on the crisis. I wonder why they wrote it like that. And the city has already dropped $1.5 billion on migrant surge for the fiscal year that runs through June the 30th. It expects to spend $11 billion. And people are going to get pissed off at you. No matter what you say, Eric Adams, you are the mayor. And they're going to be looking at you're spending all this money taken from your people, the great people of New York City. You're taking away from them to fund illegal immigrants, people that shouldn't be here. So that's why they're yelling at you. You are making a call to say, hey, we're going to cut all these programs. That's you making that call. We're going to go on a hiring freeze. You can't get proper training because we don't have the money. But we're going to spend this money to keep up with the residents. And we see, was it last week or the week before last, some of these residents, they said, to the hell with y'all. We ain't staying. If we ain't staying in a 4-star hotel, we ain't staying at no tent. They want the same treatment. And you spending $5,000 a month on an immigrant, per head on immigrants. I'm trying to find that.
Also joining us, Rachel Campos.
Apparently, these are dozens of migrants refusing to leave the New York City hotel because they have these tents built wherever, not in New York City, but is somewhere else, a less populated area. And they bust them out there. And I guess these immigrants in the hotel got wind. They're like, hell, we ain't staying in no tent. Okay, but I thought you was coming from a war-torn country. Anyway, this is what they got to say.
Duffy, Carissa Thompson, and Brian Kilmeade. Talk border now, because now we have 2 borders to talk about. A staggering new numbers on the Biden border crisis. Customs and Border Patrol sources are telling Fox News that in the past 4 months alone, there have been nearly 300,000 gotaways, the ones we know about that the cameras and the sensors pick up. Plus, last week, agents told Fox News there have been more than 1.2 million gotaways since President Biden took office. That does not include all the ones that are in the country that we have no idea that they crept in. It's not only cities near the southern border, though, that are feeling the effects of all of it. Check out what happened in New York City last night. Okay, protests broke out when dozens of people refused to leave the Watson Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. The city is kicking them out and relocating them to the Brooklyn Cruise Terminal. Mayor Eric Adams has ordered construction of a temporary emergency shelter there for people who are in this country trying to stay here after crossing our southern border. Some of them told reporters conditions will be inhumane and there won't be enough food for them. So they want to leave the high-dollar hotel and go to a structure that the mayor is going to build for them. Brian.
It's outrageous. I think it's more to do with the fact that it's going to be all male. They're starting to break it up. Remember we saw 2 weeks ago? We saw sex in the hallways. We saw drinking and booze fest in the lobbies.
Well, we didn't see it.
Sounds like college.
Right.
Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Right.
Report.
Some colleges, yeah.
As I've heard.
Yeah. That's right.
Brian, tell your friends to leave.
Right.
Brian's blushing.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I forgot what we were talking about. But I'm just saying, so they want to stop at the fraternity house, and they want to go to the Brooklyn campus for free, where they eat for free, where we also found out that 90% of the food that was brought into places like this hotel was tossed out because they didn't like it. So I cannot believe the audacity of somebody who would come to our country illegally, take a free bus ride to the #1 city in the country, and then decide that they're going to pick and choose the free accommodations that they're getting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Carissa, your thoughts?
Well, the question that I have is what now, right? If these numbers are unprecedented, right, and it's not just from the south, now it's at the northern border, when are there going to be enough hotels? When are there going to be enough accommodations? When is it going to end, right? So just looking at the illegal immigration part of it away from it, when does this end and what is the solution? I'm a solutions-oriented person, okay? If we've addressed this as the problem, how do we stop it when it's happening at an astronomical pace?
Well, you know, it's an interesting question to put to the White House. Their policies wouldn't.
It's not an interesting question. It's a stupid question. Not when would it stop? Well, of course, you look at your government. Look at Joe Biden. That's the person who's going to stop it. Joe Biden. They shouldn't even be in the hotels. I'm sorry. You know we had an open border. Look, we know we had an open border. You know Greg Abbott wasn't going to foot the bill. So you knew they was going to have to go somewhere. So he started funneling them out to different parts of the state and the city. You guys should have been prepared for that. There's a commercial running in Venezuela and all these other countries. Oh, come over to America. And that's what they did. Everybody came over to America. And now we are responsible for taking care of them. Because Joe Biden and Congress, they can't come together to stop the madness.
Dictate, Carissa, that there is an end to any of this. And that's troubling.
Which then becomes an issue of crime and issue of an economic, there's a myriad of different issues here. But for me, if we're looking at these unprecedented numbers, I have to then immediately ask the question, when does it stop? And you're saying there isn't a.
These are not new numbers. This like it ramped up immediately after Title 42 expired. If you've been following it, immigration or illegal immigrants at the border crossing has ramped up immediately after Title 42 expired, and it only increasingly have gotten worse over time. So the way it's going to stop, people are mad at Greg Abbott for taking the matter into his own hands. But his hands is tied too. It's his state that mainly most of those people are crossing. So you can get mad at him. The federal government can be mad at him. Congress could be mad at him. But they're not dealing with the problem. But they're the ones that could actually solve the problem. But they refuse to. Or refuse not to.
A known stop as of yet.
So you mentioned the northern border issue that we're having. So in the last 3 months or so, we've seen illegal immigrants crossing on our northern border with Canada, a number that's larger than what we saw over the last 2 years. I interviewed Senator Tom Cotton of the great state of Arkansas last hour, and here's what he said is the problem with being sandwiched between a northern border that's got that problem and a southern border that's got that problem.
This is a national security threat in addition to being a threat to our communities with crime and drugs and threatening the jobs of hardworking Americans. Joe Biden needs to take steps to close our border, to tell people not to come. If they do come, they'll be deported. And there certainly should not be any efforts at immigration reform in the Congress until immigration laws are changed to control our borders.
So, Rachel, what the senator also went on to say is that, you know, it doesn't matter which border this is coming from. Everybody's taking their cue from what we've done on the southern border.
Yeah. So it's interesting, Krista, you asked such a great question. When does this end? It's not going to end. This is completely intentional. This is operating exactly as it was planned. This is what the Biden administration does. This is how the NGOs, George Soros and those who are funding the NGOs, they're pressuring the Biden administration. Then the Biden administration takes our own tax dollars and pours it back into the NGOs. It's this big circle of money that's funding this policy. I want to go to what you said, Brian, about, because you know I went and reported for Fox and Friends out at Randall's Island when they put up that makeshift
And then took it
tent.
down without putting anybody in it.
Exactly. So some of these migrants, as I was reading the article, were complaining that Randall's Island was horrible and they don't want to leave this hotel because they're going to get sent to this other terminal, wherever, this bus terminal, and they said it's going to be as bad as Randall's Island. Meanwhile, I interviewed homeless American, many of them veterans, who said, we wish we had the Randall's Island shelter. That's way better than what we have at our homeless shelters.
Or on the street.
Or on the streets. It's absolutely, we are not putting Americans first. This is absolutely insane. And by the way, yeah, you know what? Everything looks bad next to a really nice Midtown hotel. I'd like to stay there too. I don't think our Fox gives me as nice a hotel as
Oh my goodness, oh goodness. That's a different show. I have a quick follow-up for you though, because, you know, people are coming here and they're saying that they want asylum, which asylum is a very specific thing. I mean, when you look at the dissolution of government in Haiti when they assassinated their president a couple of years ago, I mean, but it's not about coming here and getting a better job. That is not asylum.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, what are they really leaving behind if they don't want the shelter that's been built for them? I'm not trying to sell it like.
Didn't I just say that? Where are you coming from if you don't want a shelter? What are you leaving behind? If the shelter is too good for you, what's really going on here? So you just thought, oh, let me pick up and move to America. I know there's a better way in America, but you're not coming from a war. You're not seeking asylum. You just said one day, oh, I just want to go to America because they got better pay and better jobs. And then you think you're supposed to be at a 5-star hotel or even at a 4-star hotel. You think that we should just even be giving you shelter on top of that. And it's like, no. And then you have some people are actually leaving. They're leaving America. They're going back where they came from because they saying American dream is no longer. No, you wanted a free dream. So I'm not going to view this whole thing, but where I was getting at, you see dozens of people or dozens of illegal immigrants, they refuse to go to a different or a shelter period. They want to stay at the nice and fluffy hotel and not pay for it. They want you to pay for it. And this is totally an engineered problem. This is an engineered problem that Joe Biden they've created this problem. You got somebody from Twitter. Hey sis, what's up? Blazak 1. Robert Jordan say we still have another year under this president to watch the slow decay of this country. It is sickening. It's very sickening. And Eric Adams is acting like, he's doing a good job by cutting his own city's funding to fund immigrants. And that's the quickest way for you to get out of office. Because if you act like you don't care about Americans, you need to leave too. You putting immigrants first. Bonita said, don't cut police and firefighter funds. Defund the sanctuary program. Exactly. I totally agree with that. Robert said, I don't know why Adams just doesn't send the illegals to Washington, D.C. I'll send everyone, last one. Matter of fact, I will build a tent right outside of 700 Pennsylvania Lane. Is that across the street from the White House? Build a tent right out there. I will erect the tent and start busing people all the way to Washington, D.C. and let they deal with the problem. And give them a taste of their own medicine. You don't want to deal with the problem? Okay, we're going to force you to deal with the problem because they're going to be right in your neighborhood. Anywho. Martin Phillips, thank you for all you do, Chawanne. I love the topics you cover. Thank you for tuning in, Martin. They brought immigrants to Chi in New York City with free housing. Forget the blacks already there and homeless. I read somewhere that the immigrants get a monthly stipend. Haven't looked deep into it though. No, they do get a monthly stipend. They get monthly stipend. They get free health care, free education, free housing. And while, your veterans, people that serve the country, Black Americans, and Black Americans make up a majority of the homeless population in Chicago and New York, they don't get anything. They get served some fentanyl. They try to keep them doped up and untouched with reality. That's what they give Americans. We just covered last week. We covered not New York, but San Francisco. How they cleaned it up for the Chinese delegates and Joe Biden. Oh, we got to clean this shit up. We gonna clean it up. Soon after the Chinese delegates and Xi Jinping left, it's back looking shitty again. Americans last. With this administration, you guys better wake up. With this administration, Americans are last. It's China first, Ukraine first, Israel first. No shade to Israel. Palestinians first, Iran's first. Everybody that's anti-American, that's who they put first. It's no longer America first. Anyway, I'm done beating on my or preaching on my soapbox. You guys stay tuned. This was a long live stream? Yeah, I've been on here about 2 hours, pretty long. Let's see. Martin says it sounds like this administration is to buy the vote. Hello, Martin. You on the same page? They trying to bring all these illegals in here and be like, oh, you don't need no voter ID. Go vote. And them like, remember, vote blue. Because those are the guys that got you through the border. So they were like, vote blue all the way down. So yeah. So we gotta wake up to that. Black vets still getting treated like trash by the VA. There's a group trying to combat it. Black Veterans Project, people trying to ignore them too. I'm gonna look them up. Black Veterans Project. Yeah, I do not like the way they treat veterans. Not only black veterans, just veterans. Period. It's just disgusting to me. So anyway, I've been on the horn for about 2 hours, you guys. Stay tuned tomorrow. We're gonna talk about Tiffany Henyard again. I got some more information. The information keeps on coming about your girl Tiffany Henyard, and it's super sad that she's been stealing money for years prior to her being the supervisor, the township supervisor and the mayor. So that's tomorrow. I got all my information gathered for that. So you guys stay tuned for that tomorrow. I'll be online around 8 o'clock. Okay. So I am sending all my good to you. You guys enjoy the rest of your Friday evening, and I will see you tomorrow.